Am I the a-hole for refusing to give my younger sister money to maintain her lavish lifestyle after many years of hard work causing a fallout with my family? Okay, I'll try to keep this as short as I can, but I need to vent a little because I feel like my entire family is mad at me, and I don't know if I'm in the wrong here. I, 34 female, have worked my butt off for over a decade to get where I am today. I came from a pretty average family. Growing up, we weren't poor, but we weren't well off either. I had to bust my butt through school, take extra shifts, save every penny while others were out partying and buying things I couldn't even dream of affording. Now, after years of grinding, I finally own my own home, have a decent savings, and I'm in a good place financially. It wasn't easy, and I'm proud of myself for getting here. Then there's my younger sister, Sarah, 29 female. Sarah's always been different. I love her, but she's never been great with money or responsibilities in general. She's had a history of overspending and not really caring about the consequences. While I was working multiple jobs and going back to school, she was out buying designer bags, going on trips, eating out at fancy restaurants, all the things I had to forgo. Here's the kicker though, our parents have always cuddled her. Even now at 29, they're still helping her out financially. They've paid off her rent a few times, they cover some of her bills, and they even bailed her out when she maxed out her credit cards more than once. She's basically been able to live this luxurious life without putting in the work. Well, recently Sarah hit a rough patch. Surprise, surprise. She called me in a panic because she couldn't keep up with her expenses and asked if I could lend her some money. At first I felt bad and thought, okay, maybe I can help her out this one time. But then I realized she wasn't asking for money to pay rent or cover an emergency. She wanted me to help her maintain her lifestyle. She straight up said she didn't want to sell her designer stuff or downgrade her apartment because she deserves nice things. I told her no. I said that while I love her, I'm not going to throw money at her so she can keep living this way. I suggested she start making smarter financial decisions, like cutting back on luxuries, maybe selling some of her more expensive things, and living within her means. Well, she didn't take it well. She got super mad and accused me of being selfish and forgetting where I came from. She went on about how I'm in a good place now, so I should help her because that's what family does. Now she's gone crying to our parents, and of course they've taken her side. They called me saying I'm being stingy and that money is just money, and that family is more important. They've helped her as much as they can, and now they think it's my turn to step up. I tried to explain that it's not about me hoarding my money, but about the fact that she's living irresponsibly, and I don't want to enable that behavior. They didn't care, and now the whole family's upset with me. I've even gotten calls from aunts and uncles telling me I'm wrong for not helping her out. I feel like I'm taking crazy pills. I worked so hard for what I have, and it doesn't feel fair that I'm expected to bail her out so she can keep living this ridiculous lifestyle. I love her, but I just don't think it's right to reward bad behavior, even if she is my sister. So, am I the a-hole for not giving her the money and causing this massive fallout with my family? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. If your parents truly believe that money is just money, then they should be happy to sell some of their investments or other assets, or even delay vacation or retirement plans, to continue to fund a lifestyle that they've raised Sarah to expect. And anyone that calls you, all the uncles and aunts, tell them since they are butting into this business, then they should also help out. So your sister can keep spending money on designer jewelry. Watch the conversation change real quick. Thank you so much for offering to help support Sarah's lifestyle. How much can I put you down for contributing? I know she's been eyeing a new handbag and some nice jewelry, so I know she's going to need a lot. Is $10,000 starting out good, or should I put you down for more, do you think? If Sarah wants to be a trad wife or a stay-at-home girlfriend, she needs to start with a rich partner. Seems she skipped that step. Not the a-hole. Not the a-hole. You've worked hard for what you have and deserve to keep it. It's like the parable of grasshopper and the ant. If your parents want to bail her out, they can get a second mortgage. That way, your sister won't need to sell any of her nice stuff or move to a cheaper place. Because let's be honest here, if you end up needing help from your parents, there's nothing left for you. Next story. Am I the a-hole for refusing to attend my sister's wedding after what she did to my fiancé? So my 28 female sister Ella, 31 female, is getting married in 2 weeks. We've always been close, even though we have our differences. I've always been more of a laid-back, introverted person, while Ella's the life of the party and loves being the center of attention. It never bothered me much, until now. I've been engaged to my fiancé Mark, 29 male, for about a year. He's wonderful, kind, supportive, and just an all-around great guy. My family has always liked him, or so I thought. But about a month ago, something happened that made me question everything. Ella asked Mark to meet her for coffee one day, saying she needed to help picking out a wedding gift for me. I didn't think much of it at the time, but when Mark came home, he was really quiet. After some coaxing, he finally told me what happened. Apparently, Ella spent the entire time trying to convince him that I wasn't right for him. She told him I was too boring, that I wasn't ambitious enough, that he could do better. She even went so far as to suggest that he should call off the engagement and see other people. Mark was completely blindsided and upset. He said he defended me, but it was clear that Ella was relentless. I was furious when I found out. I confronted Ella and she didn't even deny it. She said she was just looking out for Mark and that she wants the best for him. When I asked her why she thought it was her place to interfere in our relationship, she just shrugged and said she was being honest. I told her that what she did was completely out of line and hurtful, not just to me, but to Mark as well. She didn't apologize. Instead, she doubled down, saying that if I was confident in my relationship, I wouldn't be so upset. I ended up leaving her house in tears. Since then, I've barely spoken to her. My parents found out about the situation, and while they agree that what Ella did was wrong, they're begging me to still attend the wedding. They think that missing it would cause a huge rift in the family, and that I should just let it go for the sake of peace. But I don't know if I can. Every time I think about what she did, it makes my blood boil. I feel betrayed and hurt. I don't know if I can just pretend everything is fine for her big day. Mark supports whatever decision I make, but I can tell he's hurt by this too. So, am I the a-hole for refusing to go to my sister's wedding after what she did to my fiancé? Not the a-hole. Tell your parents you're staying home for the sake of peace. Your peace. Or tell them that if you go, you will object to the wedding, as it's clear that Ella has feelings for Mark and the wedding is a sham. Not the a-hole. She might be getting married to someone else, but she clearly has feelings for Mark. Right. OP's sister is marrying a man she doesn't love. OP should look out for this guy and let him know what his fiancé tried to do and why. OP's sister would understand, right? I would definitely have coffee with him and let him know he can do better. Not the a-hole. Narcissists, cheaters, basically generally crappy people, all bank on the fact that your reaction to their toxic behavior will be viewed as an overreaction, and they try to pin a blame on you. This is especially true in family dynamics, with this ridiculous belief that somehow being related by blood gives someone a free pass to crap all over you. If she ever is truly repent, then maybe there would be room for grace and forgiveness. But until then, I would consider her dead to you. Parents think OP not attending wedding could cause a rift in the family. No, Ella caused the rift by meeting Mark and trying to ruin OP's relationship. The blame is on Ella, not OP. You were right. OP will get the blame for her reaction. No one will be concentrating on Ella's behavior that started this whole issue. They always try to blame the reaction to awful behavior instead of the behavior itself. It's so messed up. Next story. Am I the a-hole for refusing to move my wedding date after my brother said he can't make it? So I, 28 female, am getting married in 2 months. My fiancé, 29 male, and I have been planning this wedding for over a year. We picked the venue, sent out save the dates last year, and everyone has known about the date for ages. Like we're all in, the venue is booked, caterers, flowers, photographer. Basically everything is set, and deposits have been paid. At this point, we're just counting down the days, excited to get married and celebrate with everyone. Enter my younger brother, 25 male. He just got into this super competitive internship program that he's been wanting for a while, and he's over the moon about it. I'm genuinely happy for him because I know this is a big deal for his career. The problem is, he found out the start date is the same week as my wedding, and he told me he can't come anymore. Obviously, I was disappointed, but I assumed he'd be a little bummed too and we'd move on. Instead, he asked me if I'd consider changing the wedding date. At first, I thought he was joking, but nope, dead serious. He's all, "This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, and I really don't want to miss your wedding, but I can't be in two places at once." I told him there's literally no way I'm changing the date. We're 2 months out, everything is booked, invites have been sent, guests have RSVP'd, and people have already planned time off and booked hotels. Not to mention, moving a wedding isn't as simple as just picking another day, especially at this point. There's a whole cascade of other stuff I'd have to move, and that's if the venue even has another open date anytime soon. He got annoyed and basically said, "So you care more about a party than your brother's future?" Which really pissed me off. Like, come on, it's not like I didn't give everyone, including him, a huge heads up about this date. He's known for over a year. I get that the internship is important, but it's not like he couldn't have communicated with them and tried to work something out, right? Now, my mom is all over me about it, saying that I'll regret not having him there, and that I'm being selfish but not even considering changing the date. She's implying that family is more important than one day, but I feel like this is one day that's actually about me and my fiancé, and I don't think it's fair to be expected to turn my life upside down to accommodate his work. My dad is staying out of it, classic, but I can tell he thinks I'm being a bit unreasonable too. Fiancé is backing me up, but I can tell he feels weird about the whole thing. He's a big family guy and doesn't want any drama, but he also knows how much we've already put into this wedding. I don't want to sound like I don't care about my brother because I do. I love him, and I hate that he won't be there. But at the same time, I don't think it's reasonable to ask someone to change their wedding date this close. It's not like we're talking about a birthday party or something. This is an entire wedding. So yeah, am I the a-hole for refusing to change the date and basically telling him if he can't come, that's on him? Or should I be more flexible here? Now for the top comments. Your brother and your family's opinions are absurd. Not a-hole. Why is this kid so delusional? Did he often expect things to be moved around for him? Did he often get extensions on things? Is he the golden child? Mom is backing him and dad is staying out of it. If they think OP's wedding doesn't get priority in their own damn life, it shows who's probably been getting preferential treatment. Yup, son versus daughter. Mom backing the son because family? Reeks of a golden child scapegoat dynamic. Dad not wanting to rock the boat is just an enabler. You can't move mountains for him. You can't screw over everyone else who saved the date. There's no argument here. The date is the date. Now, I get that he doesn't want to make waves, but my sister's wedding seems like an easy ask. Is it on a weekday? Why can't he do both? This. A lot of times travel/hotels/time off can't be rescheduled. Everyone else planned accordingly. They shouldn't all be screwed over for one person. Not a-hole. He's 25 but acting like he's 13. The fact that your mother, who should know better, is on you about it combined with his attitude tells me he's the golden child. Tell mom if she really cared about family, she would liquidate her savings to rebook the venue, the vendors, and the travel and accommodations of all the guests to make sure your brother can come, along with apology letters to all those who took vacation days for nothing. Last story. Would I be the a-hole if I tell my friend her bridesmaids won't be throwing her an extensive bachelorette party if we aren't invited to the wedding? So I, 27 female, am friends with Jane, 28 female. Jane and her fiancé Brad, 29 male, recently got engaged. Jane is one of my best friends and we have known each other since college. When talking about our future weddings, Jane has always expressed that she wants me and a handful of our closest friends to be her bridesmaids and to have a destination wedding. When I saw Jane and Brad the day they got engaged, one of the first things Jane said to me was how excited she was for me and our other friend to be her bridesmaids. This was about a month ago. However, now that Jane and Brad have started looking at wedding planning, they have decided to have a tiny destination wedding in Colorado and only immediate family will be invited, to save money. They also plan on having a casual party for all of the rest of their family and friends after. But there will be no ceremony or sit-down dinner and will be very clearly not a second wedding. Even though I was disappointed and hurt to hear that I would not be invited to the actual wedding, I understand that it is their right to have whatever kind of wedding they want. And if it is not important to her that her best friends be there, that's her choice. But what irked me is that Jane still expects a bridal shower, a long weekend trip to an expensive destination for a bachelorette party, and mentioned a registry for wedding gifts. I find it a bit ridiculous that she still expects to have these things thrown by, and presumably paid for, by people that aren't even invited to the actual wedding. She still insists on calling us her bridesmaids, but since we will not be present at the wedding and will have no special designation at the party, I don't see how we actually are. Our friends are a bit split on what to do about this. Some want to confront her about this, some think that would be an a-hole move. So would I be the a-hole for telling Jane that if she's not having a traditional wedding, she can't expect traditional wedding benefits? Edited to add, I think a few people are misunderstanding my point here. I'm not saying I don't want to celebrate her at all, or that she shouldn't get anything outside of her wedding. What's bothering me is her stated expectation of a big shower and bachelorette trip. She explicitly said she wants to go to Scottsdale. We are in Tennessee, so this requires a flight. Without an invitation to the wedding, she could throw any kind of backyard, courthouse, big, small, whatever wedding, and I would be happy to do all of the above, as long as I was actually invited. Not a-hole. You aren't bridesmaids. You are friends of the bride. That being said, however, if she specifically mentions the reason for the small ceremonies to save money, then it seems to me that she does want the big wedding you all talked about, but they can't afford it. She is probably really disappointed she can't have the wedding of her dreams, and now she's even more disappointed she won't have her dream bachelorette party either. Why can't you throw her a bridal party just because you love her and want her to have a bridal party? Totally understand your point. They did say the reason is to save money. However, she and her fiancé both have great jobs. He drives an expensive car. They have a designer dog. They recently bought a home for about $400K. And she is constantly buying expensive clothes. Also, Brad's family is rich, and she told me his parents offered to pay for at least part of the wedding. So they are choosing this style of wedding because that's what they want to do, not that they can't afford to have a slightly larger wedding. There is also a lot of background, but the short version is that a few years ago, Brad had a medical emergency when Jane and I lived together, and I and her other friends went above and beyond for them during this time, which I was more than happy to do because I love them both. But I think that is contributing to this feeling a bit more like a slap in the face than if it was any other friend/couple. I do still want to celebrate her and their upcoming marriage. My feelings are stemming from the expectation of an extensive bachelorette trip without an inclusion in the actual wedding. Not a-hole. Bridesmaids who aren't invited to the wedding aren't bridesmaids. Not even guests. Apparently, they're just ATMs. And party planners. They should plan a destination weekend party for the bride, then not invite her. It's the bride's favorite type of event after all.
Would I be the a-hole for reporting my brother-in-law to CBS for what he did? My male 27 sister passed away in 2018. She left behind my 10-year-old nephew, and me and my nephew used to be very close. But because of the tension between me and my brother-in-law, his dad, we don't get along for several reasons. But I'm not going to get into that right now. My brother-in-law used to be a member of a club in his hometown. He has lots of tattoos. His whole left arm is covered in tattoos, as well as his neck and fingers. Last week, while he was visiting my parents' house, I was there, and I spent some time with my nephew. My nephew said the upper part of his shoulder has been itching. I checked and saw a spider-shaped tattoo with few letters around it. I was shocked because it looked like a permanent tattoo. There was redness in his skin, and he told me his dad got him a tattoo a few days ago. I went to speak to his dad. He didn't even try to explain, and just responded with, "So what?" when I asked if he really got his son a tattoo. I got into an argument with him telling him that what he did was not acceptable, especially since my nephew said he hated it. I asked who was okay with giving a minor a tattoo. My brother-in-law said that the tattoo artist is a close friend of his, and he agreed to give my nephew a tattoo. I told him this was wrong, and I will be getting CPS involved. He then yelled at me, telling to F off, and that I can't do jack since he's the father and has the authority. My parents told me to back off after he said he won't bring my nephew to visit again if I continue. My dad told me to mind my own business and stop being a jerk to a widower. I got overwhelmed after everyone demanded I apologize for my behavior, and I have not seen any of my family ever since. I've been thinking about this confrontation and my nephew's well-being. I'm worried and seriously considering calling CPS about what brother-in-law did. Now for the top comments. Not at AITA. There's a reason minors aren't allowed tattoos, especially when they've yet to finish growing. I would absolutely call CPS. The pain involved in tattooing, especially against a child's will, is nothing short of abuse. The man is not a fit parent, and being a widow, especially for 3 years, is no excuse for this. Not at AITA. Make the call. I am a mandated reporter. If I saw a tattoo on a 10-year-old kid at my school, I would be required to make the call. Every state has a confidentiality policy, meaning they can out you. The family won't get that information and may think a teacher did it. This kid is doubtless going to show his classmates and word spreads. You can't deny it, because they're a-holes. This kid has a tattoo he hates, and it may be infected. Make the call and let the authorities handle it. What happens is up to them in the courts, not you. But someone needs to make that call, and you sound like the only sensible adult in the equation. Good on you for caring for that kid. This kid has a tattoo he hates, and it may be infected. This is my main concern for the moment. No sane tattoo artist would do this to a child. So this means that the one who actually did it to the poor boy is probably someone who isn't strict with the rules either. And it is bothering the child. Infection is a real danger, and there are plenty of other risks as well. So the poor child definitely needs to be seen by a doctor. Report, report, report. It is in the best interest of the child. Not at AITA. Please call CPS. Might wreck your relationship with brother-in-law, but who cares? He sounds like an A. Giving him a tattoo? That's insane. Not at AITA. This is child abuse. Honestly, the brother-in-law sounds like an absolute psycho. This might ruin your relationship with him, but honestly, it is in your nephew's best interest. And brother-in-law doesn't sound like the kind of person you'd want in your life anyway. Is it possible your parents were defending him out of fear? They may be scared of losing their grandson, and also scared of brother-in-law himself. I try not to worry too much about their reaction, and do what you feel is right. Deep down, they probably know that what he did was wrong, and are too scared to admit it in front of him. Now for the next story. Am I the a-hole for calling my parents insensitive after their reaction toward my late brother's wife's pregnancy test? My older brother passed away almost 2 months ago, and the feelings are still very fresh. My sister-in-law, his wife, is staying at my parents' house right now because she still can't set foot in their apartment. I, 29 male, live a few houses down from my parents, so I'm over all the time right now being there with them, so we all have that support. 2 weeks ago, my sister-in-law was getting sick, throwing up and stuff, but grief makes it hard to eat sometimes. I know, because I've dropped 5 pounds and can't eat much either. But since this only recently started happening to her, my mom became ecstatic out of nowhere and said maybe she's pregnant. This really freaked my sister-in-law out, and she honestly looked terrified. My parents went on talking about how beautiful it would be to have a baby right now, and it's my brother's parting gift. This did not make her happy at all. She bought a pregnancy test that same day, and it was negative. Sister-in-law was relieved, but my parents were not. My mom told her to wait another week, because sometimes it takes a while for the hormones to change or something like that. Again came back negative. My mom is still insisting she's pregnant, and sister-in-law has an appointment tomorrow to confirm, but she's pretty certain she's not. At dinner yesterday, all they would talk about is the baby, and sister-in-law admitted she doesn't want a child right now. This really angered my mom, and she said my sister-in-law was being very cruel for not wanting her child. It started upsetting sister-in-law and looked like she was gonna cry, so I told them to stop it already. She left at the table, and I called them out for being insensitive. I said they don't get she just lost her husband. Do you really think she wants to be a single mom right now on top of what she's going through? And why would they want this pregnancy when that'll mean their grandkid will grow up without their father? I was pretty red in the face telling them this because it really got to me. All week, I've told them to leave her alone about this because it's obviously been too much for sister-in-law and they just wouldn't stop. even when she tells them she doesn't want to talk about it. This made my mom emotional too, and told me I don't understand because I'm not a parent. Then my dad got mad at me for reacting that way, when they just want to be happy about the possibility of having a grandchild. But to me, it's been pointed out to them that sister-in-law isn't happy about this, so I push it and make her uncomfortable. My parents are still mad at me. Dad does think I was an a-hole for calling them insensitive and making it seem like they were doing something wrong. Sister-in-law is still a mess and anxious about her appointment. She doesn't believe she's pregnant, but says she doesn't know what she'll do if it somehow turns out she is. Anyways, I'd like to know if what I said made me an a-hole. It really pissed me off is all. Not an a-hole at all. Thank you for standing up for your sister-in-law. Your mother is understandably grieving the loss of her child right now, and has latched onto the idea that his widow could be carrying his child. Honestly, I hope for everyone's sake she isn't, because this isn't healthy. I guarantee that your mother is already thinking of this child as the reincarnation of your brother, and it will be insufferable. Your mother needs therapy. Your father is also an a-hole for completely ignoring that your sister-in-law lost her husband in his own grief for his son. Can your sister-in-law stay with you? It'd probably be better for her. I hope so too. She already told me she doesn't know if she could actually make it through a pregnancy. And I get that. But it would cause an even bigger drama with my parents, so here's hoping she isn't. We're talking about that. I told her if she's not comfortable there, she can come here. She just feels guilty about leaving since they took her in. For your information, if she's feeling sick but got 2 negative tests, she's 99% not pregnant. Typically, you don't start feeling nauseated until you're about 6 weeks pregnant or later, and that's more than enough time to get a positive test. Pregnancy symptoms typically don't appear till, well, after you've missed your period or got any positive tests, so I'm pretty sure she's in the clear. Not a a-hole. I've actually been in this situation. My husband died 6 years ago. When he died, his mother kept asking if I could be pregnant and saying how she would love to have something of my husband still left behind. She put pressure on me, and when we found out that I wasn't pregnant, it made me feel like a terrible person who couldn't give his mom what she wanted. It was a mess, and I didn't need that guilt and pain when I was already devastated over losing my husband. You sound honestly amazing for standing up for your sister-in-law. That was kind of you, and the right thing to do. Your parents need to back off and let her grieve. They are taking their emotions out on her, and it's not beneficial for anyone. Keep having her back. You're a good guy. Not a a-hole. Your parents are treating your sister-in-law like a human incubator for your brother's memories. They need to step back and realize they are being outrageous, and their behavior is absolutely unacceptable. Next story is titled, Am I the a-hole for calling my mother-in-law a bad mother and kicking her off a family Zoom call? My 41 female husband 42 male and I have been married for 15 years. I have an okay relationship with my mother-in-law, but prefer to limit contact with her because she's very nosy and likes to gossip. When I first met my husband, he told me that he was an only child. However, when we started to get serious and were discussing marriage, he told me that he was in fact not an only child, that he has a sister. However, he wants nothing to do with her. He told me he tells people that he is an only child because 1, people will be nosy and ask why he does not speak to her, or 2, try to get him to fix the relationship with her. I told him that it was his choice, and that family's who you choose, not what you were born into. He went on to explain that his sister has a history with addiction. She is a habitual liar and would lie on purpose so that he would get into trouble and not her, and that she would steal from him. He said that when he moved out at 18, the last conversation that he had with his sister was him telling her that he wanted nothing to do with her, and that he is an only child. My mother-in-law has been trying to force a relationship between them ever since, much to the detriment of her own relationship with her son. Saturday was my husband's birthday, so I organized a family Zoom call 2 weeks ago so that everyone could sing happy birthday and open presents with him. The week prior, my mother-in-law sent me a message over Facebook that she wanted to surprise my husband with his sister. She said she felt like it was time for the two of them to bury the hatchet. I told her that this is not a good idea, that my husband wants nothing to do with her, and that I would not open lines of communication between the two of them without discussing it with him first. She asked me if I could give sister-in-law my contact information, and I told her no. Well, she did anyway, and my sister-in-law started texting and calling me on my phone. Since she is not a Facebook friend, she cannot contact me online. I told my husband about it, and he was beyond pissed off. He told mother-in-law to stop trying to force him to have a relationship with his sister, and if she cannot respect this, he will stop speaking to her as well. We thought all was fine, until Saturday. Right as we were getting ready to sing happy birthday, mother-in-law tells my husband she has a surprise, and sister-in-law sits down next to her and starts crying and sobbing about how she misses her brother. My husband was so angry that he walked away. I told my mother-in-law she was a horrible mother, and have since blocked her on Facebook and on my phone. Now, I'm getting Facebook messages and phone calls from other relatives, including my own family, about how rude I was and how I should apologize to mother-in-law for how I behaved. My own mother says that mother-in-law was only trying to help, and that I need to unblock her and beg forgiveness. Am I the a-hole for calling my mother-in-law a horrible mother? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. She did something she knew would upset him, and on his birthday. Your husband is an adult and has made his wishes clear, and I'm sure he's happy that you have his back. I agree, not the a-hole. I think a lot of people struggle imagining situations in which they'd cut family off because of their own good relationships, but it does not mean supposed well-intentioned meddling is done for the husband's benefit. Your family should not be interfering or apply pressure on a situation they're hearing about third hand. Good luck. Exactly. My first loyalty is to my husband. He has explained why he feels this way, and his so-called mother has done nothing but refuse to respect his boundaries. If you think such blatant disrespect is acceptable behavior, then I have misjudged you, and I think it's best we do not communicate further while I reevaluate our relationship. Not the a-hole. Your husband made it clear that he does not want a relationship with his sister, and that needs to be respected. Your mother-in-law is horrible because her son has repeatedly told her he doesn't want a relationship with his sister. And instead of supporting his decision, she keeps finding ways to force one. You have nothing to apologize for. Keep her blocked and everything, and anyone who insists on demanding you apologize can join her on a blocked list. Now for the last story. Am I the a-hole for not asking my sister-in-law to go to dinner with us? My first time posting here, so please bear with me. A little bit of background. My husband, male 30, and I, female 30, have been living with my in-laws for 2 years now. I share an okay rapport with them as their expectations are a little too much for me to handle, but that's a different story. My sister-in-law, female 23, is kind of spoiled, where she pretty much gets what she wants every time and will change the story, manipulate things and lie in order to make herself look good in front of other people. She has been having issues with her boyfriend for some time, and every time she comes to me for advice and wants to hang out with me when her boyfriend stops hanging out with her. But as soon as they are on good terms or she makes new friends, she stops hanging out with me. She has never asked me to hang out with her when she doesn't need me. On the other hand, my husband and I will try to include her in our outings, dinners, if I'm going to my cousin's house, shopping, etc. So the issue arose when she found out that my husband and I went for dinner with my brother in the city and we did not ask her to go. I had not had dinner with my brother since I got married, and I barely see him as he lives away in a different city than us. This was a random plan that my husband and I ended up making, and as we were getting ready to go out, I suggested we message my brother and see if he wants to hang out with us for dinner. He was free, and so he said yes. We drove to a city, 45 minutes, had dinner, and came back home around 11:30 p.m. By this time, everyone was asleep. The next day, my mother-in-law and sister-in-law were having breakfast but would not talk to me properly. I tried to say hi and ask how they were doing, but they ignored me. When I kept asking what happened, then my sister-in-law started crying and in a passive-aggressive tone said, "I thought you cared about me." And I said, "I do care about you, but I am not sure what I did wrong to make you cry." At this point, she started saying that I knew she was having a hard time in her relationship and needed support from me, and that she was lonely all day yesterday, and if I was going to be hanging out with my brother for dinner, then I should have taken her too. She said she thought I was going on a date with my husband and therefore did not tag along, but if she knew I was going to have dinner with my brother and husband, then she should have been included too. I have to be honest, I was feeling livid at this point. Her sense of entitlement was making me fume. And I couldn't hold it in any longer and told her that I get to decide who I have dinner with. And that just because she's having a hard time in her relationship doesn't mean I owe it to her to take her out and make her feel better every single time. My mother-in-law was not happy that I raised my voice and thought my sister-in-law yelled at both me and my husband. My mother-in-law is holding us accountable for making her daughter cry. She is expecting us to apologize to sister-in-law. Am I the a-hole for not taking my sister-in-law for dinner and losing my cool when she yelled? Not the a-hole, but you need to move out, or everyone sucks here. There is obvious tension in the family that isn't necessarily your fault. Your sister-in-law is definitely toxic. But if y'all don't leave the situation, you're just as bad as all of them because you're engaging in and supporting her and your in-laws' behavior. My family has been convincing me to move out, but my husband's mom is not in the best of health, and I am expected to do the chores in the house and take care of the family. That's why we live with the in-laws. Oh, so you belong to them. You have your own life and can make your own choices. You're choosing to stay. Your husband should be making you the priority, not his parents. Thank you. Sometimes one needs another person to be firm and say it as is. I totally get I'm choosing to stay. It's just that I can't leave without my husband, and he's been under their control his whole life. To the point where he didn't even have his own bank account, and his money used to go to them, and he would get pocket money to spend if needed. We need to discuss our future and see what we can do. I'm going to be blunt. You might have to leave him. I hope he stands up and sees the abuse that his parents have put him through his whole life and now onto you. But he might just be in too deep. If that's the case, you have to do what's best for you. You can't keep others warm by setting yourself on fire. Wow, never thought about it in that way. Thanks for putting things in perspective. He has realized the abuse his parents have put him through, and he thanks me for helping me see it. We will be getting my parents' help for our next steps. Am I the a-hole for telling my dad that my stepmom deserves every penny she has gotten? So my 27 male, stepmom 53 female has been in my life since I was 1 year old. My mom dropped out of my life when I was 3 months old and I've never met her. My dad 51 male started a business when I was 10 and my half-siblings were 5 and 8. My stepmom would take care of us when we got home from school and then work 6 to 8 hours a day for my dad's business. I would remember her going out to distribute marketing materials, driving out with him to trade shows, do his accounting into the early hours of the morning, and filling in the blanks for employees who either quit or were absent in some way. Basically, she worked close to full-time, and she would only take $1 a year because she wanted my dad to put her would-be salary back into the business. When his business started turning a large profit around when I was 16, she worked more part-time, but still never took a salary. But I feel like what she added emotionally to my siblings and I was worth more than she could have been paid in a full-time, skilled job because my dad was distant and a difficult person. However, 2 years ago, they suddenly split up. My dad moved out, and by then, my stepmom still worked part-time for free, but was mostly staying at home. But my dad, we all thought, was also close to being semi-retired. At the end of their divorce, my stepmom got 50% of my dad's business. My dad is absolutely furious. He called the system unfair, said that this was a tax on his hard work that deters further innovation from him, and that my stepmom didn't build his business. She merely stepped back and allowed him to do so. Every time he comes over to my house or comes to events for any of his 3 kids, he's angry. His greatest hits of complaints include, "Your stepmom took herself out of the workforce and that's her fault. What has she ever done to get free money?" The final straw was when yesterday he complains that his girlfriend, 25 female, yells at him every day over the fact that my stepmom is basically a business partner now, and that if I was able to work 70 hours a week 16 years ago, she should be able to do the same at Walmart for the next 20 years. I finally snapped and said that until he can bite his tongue about my stepmom, I didn't want him coming over anymore. I also told him that in my opinion, my stepmom deserves every penny she's getting. And if I were the judge, I would have given her all that and more. Am I the a-hole for being fed up? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole at all. I'm glad you stood up for your stepmom and that she's a big part of your life. Agreed. Opie's father sounds like the guys who hate taxes because he built everything himself. As if the roads, public schools, libraries, and other public services didn't help turn him and his employees to the people they are today. Yep. He sounds like a classic narcissist. I've noticed in my life that they tend to be classist as well. It's sad that people act like that. And he's got a midlife crisis. Sorry, girlfriend 25. Egging him on, knowing nothing about what he actually experienced objectively. Not a-hole. This lady not only looked after his children as a mother, but also worked at the company for essentially free. This is one of those times I'm glad courts weighed so heavily in her favor against the entitled arrogance of your father. Kudos for having a spine and sticking up for her. They didn't even weigh heavily in my opinion. You pay someone $1 a year for full-time work for over a decade. To me, that's half your business worthy. You have your spouse not only work, but also take care of your previous and current kids. Again, half your business. You do all that and spout BS? Solidifies it to me. Screw that guy. Don't forget that he then dumps his wife, expecting her to get nothing, and then turns around and gets a gold digging. She's complaining that his ex owns half the company. She's a gold digger, girlfriend that's younger than his own son. Not Dayhall. Your entire post was explained right here. His girlfriend, 25 female. He built up the business to get himself a trophy wife. And now he's mad that he couldn't just leave the stepmom high and dry. Real class act. Now for the next story. Am I the a-hole for not caring about my dad's cancer diagnosis? For context, I, 30 female, am a product of my dad's infidelity. He lied to my mom about being single. They dated, he got my mom pregnant. She was given a heads up about my dad's shadiness by one of her co-workers. My mom confronted him, and that was that. My mom took out a restraining order against my dad before I turned 1 because of his constant threatening to take me away. So I never met him, and I've never been interested in doing so. Jump forward to 2018, and my mom told me she'd found my dad on Facebook and that they'd started messaging each other. She said he was looking forward to meeting me and that she'd set up a date for us to have dinner without asking if I was even interested in meeting him. I didn't feel comfortable being alone with my dad, but to avoid any drama with my mom, who lives with me, I caved and had dinner with him. It went well at first, but then he started bragging about all his money and his perfect daughters. It made me shut down and feel awful about myself. After dinner, he complained to my mom that I was unresponsive and didn't seem excited to meet him. Knowing my mom and her tendency to side with everyone else but her kids, I was given the silent treatment until I apologized. Apparently, I ruined his dream of meeting me by not welcoming him into my life with open arms. It's now 2021, and in the short time we've known each other, my dad has managed to make me feel horrible many times. The last straw was when he tried to guilt me for not contacting him every day when I explained that I sometimes go through low periods where I retreat and have very little contact with anyone. I know there's a name for it, but I've never been properly diagnosed because I was ridiculed at a young age by my mom for feeling depressed when I had no real problems. My dad refused to understand that it's for the sake of my mental health, and said I just don't want to build a relationship with him. I cut contact with him after that because I don't feel like I owe him anything, and I was tired of all his snide remarks about me. I was fine before we met, and I certainly didn't need one more person in my life to please. I was done. A few days ago, my mom came to me crying about how my dad had just been diagnosed with cancer. Obviously, I feel bad for him because no one deserves that disease. But my mom now thinks I'm a monster for not crumbling to my knees in sorrow at the thought of possibly losing my dad. She's grown very close to him again over the past couple years, so she thinks he's this great person that was only trying to get close to his long-lost daughter, but she doesn't know how manipulative he was trying to be with me. My mom isn't speaking to me anymore and probably won't until I contact my dad. I don't want to invite him back in though. I'm sorry he's going through this difficult time, but that's about it. Am I an a-hole for not caring the way I'm supposed to? Not an a-hole, and it sounds like it's time to cut contact with both parents. Find your own family that actually cares about what you want. Edit. This really was just a surface level thought. I don't know why I'm getting awards, but thank you so much. Because this is getting so much attention. I'll just quickly add that I don't say cut contact lightly. Boundaries need to be set and discussions need to be had. Communication is important, but the mother sounds pretty manipulative, and a little space never hurts anyone, and OP should absolutely surround herself with people who love her and care about her. Mother will come crawling back if father dies. Be prepared and have a plan, OP. I feel like she'll try to dump all her grief on you. Yeah, It sounds like mom has some fantasy that the sperm donor and her will get back together, / be a happy family and live happily ever after because he's rich. There's a part of me wondering whether she needs Opie to suck up to father because inheritance, but that's a little far-fetched, I think. Not Dayhall, but hun, your dad isn't the only manipulator in this scenario. Your mom is too. Best go low contact to no contact with them for a while. Not Dayhall. Does your mother live with you or do you live with her? Might be time to move. No one deserves the treatment you receive not only from him but her as well. I am so sorry and hope you are eventually able to heal. Next story is titled, Am I the a-hole for telling my wife I won't attend my stepson's wedding if it's on the same day as my daughter's graduation? I, male 43, is dad of 2, Tracy Bio 22 and Sean Step 24. Tracy's mom is deceased. I'm the only family left for her since she doesn't have any close relatives. They all live away and are always in and out of touch with us. Sean and I are on great terms. I met his mom when he was 17. Now he's about to get married, although his fiancée seems a bit controlling and overall rude. Tracy is about to finish her last year in college. Her graduation is in May. She's given me a specific date and wanted me and her stepmom to be there to share her happiness. Sean and his fiancée have been busy planning their wedding. He visited us yesterday to tell us about it. He said he, his fiancée, and her mom agreed on the wedding to be on X day this May. I was taken aback. I told Sean to repeat the date, and it turned out it's the same day as Tracy's graduation day. The same day. I just paused for a minute. My wife didn't notice, so I reminded them both that Tracy's graduation is on X day this May. Sean looked at me and said he already knows, but his fiancée and her mom wanted a specific venue, and it's only available on that day of the month. The argument started. I asked him how exactly was he expecting me to attend when I'm already invited to Tracy's graduation. My wife said we could attend the graduation and the wedding the same day. But I called her illogical since I'll have to drive 4 hours to attend the graduation. Tracy lives in the city. I asked Sean if he could postpone since he wants me there so desperately. He threw a fit saying he can't, and this will cause an issue with his mother-in-law. He suggested that I postpone my daughter's graduation party. What the hell? I can't do that. It's totally out of my hand. Sean never went to college, his choice, but he should know graduations cannot be postponed. He and my wife stared at me after I said that he needed to think of another date for his wedding. Otherwise, I won't attend because I want to see my daughter graduate college. It's a big deal. My wife took it as in Tracy was more important to me, but I pointed out that Tracy didn't pick the date, nor can she control it. But Sean can control when to have his wedding. She lashed out, saying there's blatant favoritism on display here, and I shouldn't try to downplay the importance of Sean getting married since it's a once-in-a-lifetime event as well. I got so mad at her for indirectly asking me Miss Tracy's graduation to show up and support Sean on his big day. Sean was angry and left the house later. My wife kept arguing with me about what I told Sean, and that I hurt his feelings, and made it clear whose the golden child is. I told her it wasn't my fault, and I'm literally stuck in this situation. Yet, she still claims I mishandled the entire situation. Till this very moment, I have no idea what kind of response she and Sean wanted to hear from me. They said it's my fault when his mother-in-law is the one running the show. Was I wrong for what I said? Now for the top comments. Not a-hole. Your daughter's graduation date is not under your family's control, but the wedding date is. Your wife and your stepson are being a-holes. They can find another venue or wait a little longer until the venue is free again. Hold the line here. Your daughter will only graduate once too. Don't let her become the victim of them being inconsiderate. Came to agree, not a-hole. She will only graduate once. Based on stepson's and stepson's fiancé's attitudes, they'll probably have to remarry at some point down the road anyway. Lol. Agreed. Tell your wife to explain to your daughter how she can't come to her graduation because her son decided to not have a backbone and chose to get married on the same day. Not day-ho. WTF? Your wife is clearly the one showing favoritism. You kindly reminded them both of an important event involving your other child that can't be changed, and your son even said he knew it was the same day. They can't expect you to go to his wedding over her graduation. Not day-ho. Also, even though the choice here is clear because a wedding date can be changed, but a graduation date cannot, Is Opie really being criticized for showing favoritism to his daughter over his stepson who only entered his life at 17? Let's say the choice was between attending the stepson's graduation or the graduation of his child whom he's known her whole life. Let's say both dates couldn't be changed. Yeah, I'd choose the child I raised over the child I met at 17 if it came down to it. Not Dayhall. You need to put your foot down and refuse to engage further. I am attending my daughter's graduation. I made a commitment before your stepson chose his wedding date. This isn't up for discussion. Let your wife do what she wants to do, but you made a commitment to your daughter, and you can't reschedule her graduation. Your wife and stepson are selfish a-holes. Now for the last story. Am I the a-hole for leaving after finding out that my husband let his brother and his family take our bedroom? I, female 23, have been wheelchair bound for over a year. My life changed ever since I started using the wheelchair. I used to feel useless, but my husband supports me all the time. I recently went back to college, studying online, after stopping for an entire year. We used to live in an apartment. My husband managed, with the help of his family, to buy a small house. We have 2 bedrooms in total, one downstairs and the other is upstairs. Our bedroom is downstairs so I could move freely in my wheelchair. The bathroom and the kitchen are accessible as well. The problem is that my brother-in-law's house had an accidental fire and it's burned down. He and his family have been staying with family members, but not for long since they all live in apartments and my brother-in-law has 3 kids. My husband said brother-in-law and his family were coming to stay with us for a month since it was our turn to take them in. They arrived and my brother-in-law and wife were acting strange for a few days. Their kids would go into our bedroom and stay there. My husband told me brother-in-law and his wife said the upstairs room is too small for them and their kids, and asked if they could switch rooms since our bedroom is bigger. I was shocked. I told him I need a space for mobility, and I can't climb the stairs to reach the other room. It's not logical. My husband said it didn't feel fair that 5 members were stuck in a tiny room while it's just the 2 of us in a big room. We argued, then we stopped. Yesterday, my sister dropped me off after visiting my parents, and when I entered our house, I was stunned to see our stuff was moved out the room and was being moved upstairs. I asked my husband. He looked apologetic, saying he couldn't stand to see his brother and the kids uncomfortable, so I let them take our bedroom. He reassured me he'd take care of getting me up and downstairs and said the staircase is short so it won't be hard. I yelled at him after that and called him unbelievable. He lashed back and reminded me that his family helped us buy this house, and his mother called to shame him for the kids suffering in a small room. He went on about his brother struggling and asked me to put myself in his place and imagine if our house burned. Would I still complain about the upstairs room? I was so mad at him. My brother-in-law's wife tried to talk to me, basically justifying why she and brother-in-law pressured my husband to give them the room and called my sister to take me to my parents' house. My husband talked to Mom, and he was upset that she said it was wrong to do this to me. He said I should have talked to him instead of talking to my mom. Not Dayhall at all. There is a huge difference between want and need, and the two are being conflated here. Your in-laws want more space. You need to be able to get around the house. Your husband's solution is not a solution. It's a situation that causes you to become completely dependent on him to get around the house, and that's unacceptable. Your husband was also wrong, and quite honestly, dishonest in the way that he framed the fallout. He said you should have talked to him. You didn't talk to him, he just completely ignored you and decided to do what he wanted. You were clear that this wasn't an option, and he was clear in the fact that he didn't care. Why aren't your in-laws being asked to put themselves in your shoes? Husband, I can't stand to see my brother's family so uncomfortable. Also husband, but I don't give a damn if you're uncomfortable, babe. Laughing my butt off. Suck it up. Planning on carrying another adult up the stairs multiple times a day is a great way for him to end up with a debilitating injury. It sounds like this whole family campaigned to screw over Opie. The brother, wife, and mom all have no problem needling at husband until he caves. What kind of dynamic is this family working with? Edit. Also, what the hell is up with husband for being ticked that Opie talked to her mom, when apparently his entire family gets way in? I would stay and make up every excuse to go up and down stairs. I'm not comfortable in this shirt, I need to go upstairs and get something else. I forgot my whatever upstairs. I'm tired, I'm going to lay down for 10 minutes. Babe, laying down isn't really helping. I'm going to need to sit on the couch instead. I just got up here, but now I need to use the bathroom all the way downstairs. What's the problem, honey? This is what you wanted. Not a-hole. I'd be raising hell on earth. And what's he talking about? You did talk to him, but it went in one ear and out the other. He's showing you that he's going to prioritize his family over you, OP, and it is not okay. Do not go back there until him and his dumb family have a genuine apology, and when you get your room back. Seriously, what were these people all thinking? I don't know, but there's something wrong with them. Normal people don't treat people in wheelchairs like this. There's an empathy chip missing.
Would I be the a-hole if I told my late wife's family that she cheated on me? Anna, my late wife, died in a car accident. Person lost control of their car and ran her over, and she passed away immediately. We were both 26 at a time. It was 4 years ago, right before the pandemic. We were having a bad time as a couple. She was extremely jealous of me, but also very protective of her phone. Shortly after her death, I found out I had STD, and surprise, surprise, she was cheating on me. On the day she passed, a guy we went to college and was kind of friends with sent her messages, asking for pictures of their last encounter. And the way he talked, it seemed like it was recent, and it seemed that they talked often. I was able to get in her phone and laptop, as she didn't change her passwords because she would always ask to check my phone and I would ask for hers back. So I had a password. There wasn't much because she deleted everything or hid it very well, but the most recent messages, she obviously couldn't delete them. So everything that came after her death was still there. While looking for the pictures he asked for, I found pictures of her and him in a .rar deep in a random place at her work folders, at her laptop. In one of them, she had short hair, which she only had right after we got engaged. So she was with him for at least 3 years, out of our 6 years together. Also found pictures of 2 other guys, but I have no idea who they are. And there were no messages from either of them anywhere. I messaged the friend and told him that I knew, told him about the STD, and that I won't reveal it to anyone and want it to be kept as a secret forever. I asked him if anyone else knew, and he said that his ex knew but he would talk to her. I decided that for the sake of her parents and siblings, I would pretend she was a great person and let them have their beautiful memories with her. Anna's older brother Thomas, 34 male, is a good friend of mine to this day. I would even go as far to say we are best friends. After 2 years of my wife's passing, I was ready to date again. Thomas said that he knew the perfect girl for me, he just wanted me to be sure I was ready for something serious before introducing each other. It was his sister-in-law, Laura, 27 female. We knew each other only superficially but never really talked before our first date. I fell for her quick and hard. We started dating and about 3 months in, we were already telling each other I love yous, and I told her I was going to marry her. It has been a little less than 2 years. We are engaged and I have never been this happy. I told her all about my relationship with Anna. I still have the evidence of what she did, stored away in my computer just in case, and I showed it to Laura. She cried a little and comforted me, but I assured her I was fine and that I was over it. The problem comes with Anna's family, especially her mom and sister. Ever since Anna's passing, every time they talk about her, people want to hear me talk. They ask me about her, try to include me in conversations about her. Anna was such a good cook, right OP? I loved when she and OP would banter. You remember OP? Stuff like this. I was able to get by in the beginning by saying it was difficult for me to talk about her, that I was not ready. They let me be for a while, but ever since I started dating Laura, I couldn't use the "I'm not ready" excuse. Her friends, sister and mom get annoyed if I don't sound enthusiastic or depressed. Learn that it's easier to look depressed. Also, if I talk about Anna in any way that isn't portraying her as an angel that came down to earth to bless us with her presence, I get side-eyed. Thankfully, Thomas and her father are great guys and don't push me too hard on this. Her dad is always thankful that I attend their family gatherings, as we like to talk about our field of work. He always says he considers me a son. Her mom and sister, though, they get irritated if I try to dodge the topic of Anna. And his sister even said it out loud once that it's obvious that I didn't love Anna. She apologized after, but I mean, she isn't wrong. By the end, I didn't, and sure as heck don't now. Look, I'm over what happened. I don't feel hate for Anna anymore. I sometimes catch myself wishing she was alive, just so I didn't have to pretend anymore. But also because her death was a tragedy. A lot of people loved her. Her friends organized a reunion for her birthday, and those were incredibly hard. And even though I know her affair partner will be there, I go because I know how much she meant to those people. But this all started to get to me because it's affecting Laura. I can't say I love her in front of these people. I can't even hug her, and Anna's sister gets all moody. Her best friend stopped speaking to Laura. They were also friends. Anna's mom even came to us at Thomas' birthday party last week and asked us to stop dancing to respect her grief. She also contacted my mom and Laura's parents to say that she was incredibly disappointed that I proposed to Laura so soon, saying that we were moving too fast. It's been 4 years. Even if she wasn't a cheater, more than enough time has passed. I'm just over it, and I'm seriously considering telling all of them what happened, just to get the weight off my back. Would I be the a-hole if I did this? Now for the top comments. Looks like Anna's family is still trying to control your life, even from the grave. Maybe it's time to let go of their expectations and focus on your own happiness with Laura. You deserve it. If Thomas is a good friend and your families are intertwined, perhaps he is the one to talk with. Let him see the evidence and hear the story. I would honestly stop caring about what her mom and sister think. Maybe tell her brother just to explain why you would be distancing yourself, and that's it, not the a-hole. I think the brother is the route to go. Show him the evidence and distance from the mom and sister. You want to reveal the truth to alleviate your own burden, but deep down, this isn't just about truth. It's about reclaiming your narrative and the control you lost when Anna cheated on you. Her family unknowingly forces you to uphold a lie that erases your pain, forcing you to live with unresolved resentment. Your silence has served their idealized memory, but it's eating away at your sense of integrity, and that suppression bleeds into your new life with Laura. What you fear most is not their judgment, it's the risk of tarnishing the only connection you have left to the person you once thought you loved. Yet that version of Anna died long before her accident, and you're still grappling with that realization. You're searching for permission to let go, but you don't need it. Exposing the truth might give you momentary relief, but it will permanently alter relationships with people you still care about, like Thomas. The question isn't whether you'd be an a-hole, it's whether you're ready for the fallout of destroying the illusion that sustains Anna's family, and if that weight is worth lifting off your shoulders. Deep down, you're unsure if exposing the truth will really free you, or if it's just another attempt to escape the pain you haven't fully processed. This is the best advice OP is ever going to get. Since you are in a way marrying back into the family, do you really want to blow everything up? I mean, they're going to blow up everything once he does marry her. They're making comments about him not loving Anna and moving on too quickly. Those comments will never stop. It will become his and Laura's kids should have been Anna's, and on and on. Someone, OP or Laura, is going to snap when they aren't all allowed to celebrate milestones because of grief over Anna. Next story. Am I the a-hole for breaking up with my girl because she wanted her child's father to move in with her? So I've been with this girl for 8 months, and she's a good person and stuff, but she has a child with another guy. At first, I just wanted to hook up, but we kept at it, and about 3 months into it, agreed to make it exclusive. We got along well, except recently, mid-July, when she told me about her baby's dad wanting them to have a Halloween and Christmas photo shoots with her kid, for when he's older so he can have pictures of mom and dad together with him. I'm not comfortable with that, but that's not even the bigger story. Apparently, his lease is up and he's down right now, so she's thinking about letting him live with her for a while. She told me this and I just broke up with her because this is exactly the drama people talk about. But I'm also allergic to telling people what to do with their lives, so when something doesn't suit me, I remove myself from the situation. Now she's been begging me to reconsider because it's her child's father and she can't leave him hanging. But she doesn't feel anything for him and loves me, etc. I gotta like her over our time together, but access to share a child living together is just trouble waiting to happen. Plus, I don't want my girl to dress up with another guy for Christmas, or carve pumpkins with him, even if it's for the child's sake. I mean, I think the child should know that his parents aren't together. Co-parenting means you do stuff with the kid separately, no? Besides, something like the first day of school maybe, which happens at a precise time. But no, I guess I'm wrong according to her friends and sisters, who are already calling me names on TikTok because I'm not a real man who's secure about his woman, and all sorts of other BS, lol. I'm already over it, and I'm not going back on my decision. But just to get different perspectives, am I the a-hole here? Not the a-hole. You're just skipping to the last chapter where you end up breaking up anyway. That kind of living arrangement and holiday plans are a sure sign that her ex is trying to get back together with her. She seems easily manipulated by her ex, so with them living under the same roof, it seems likely that it will eventually happen. Best you're not in the picture when it does. Not the a-hole. Exes living together is a recipe for complications. You're avoiding potential drama. If my daughter's father asked to live with me because he was down on his luck, I would put a doghouse in the backyard for him. But that's just me. Not the a-hole, and honestly, I think you dodged a bullet. The photo shoots I can understand. It would be nice for the kid to have those sorts of pictures. But the moving in is too much. And in my opinion, pretty disrespectful to you. Her friends and sisters are showing you exactly the level of drama you could expect if you'd stayed. Exactly. The co-parenting stuff is pretty nice. The kid will benefit from it. However, OP's feelings are valid. He honestly just shouldn't date anyone with kids unless the other parent is no longer around or involved. But the moving in thing and a friend and family involvement is too much, even if OP were okay with a co-parenting relationship. Not the a-hole. She would definitely be banging him and expecting you to pay for stuff for her. It's a scam. Did you meet her on Craigslist or... The first thing that came to mind was that she's getting back with her ex, but doesn't want it to look like she's officially back because OP is the secondary backup boyfriend, aka her insurance policy, because she wants two men to give her their attention and or money. And you know, anything that OP would have gotten for her ex would have probably consumed for himself. Gas, groceries, gifts? Not only did OP escape the baggage, but he also escaped having to support an entire family that he didn't belong to, considering the ex allegedly can't afford to pay rent. Not the a-hole. Edit. Wow, took a nap and woke up to 300 plus notifications, lol. Thank you guys for offering your perspectives, which mostly seem to coincide with mine. The pictures thing was a moment, but it's the moving in that pushed me out completely. Not going back, and will probably politely avoid baby mamas from now on. Thanks again. Last story. Am I the a-hole for glowing up after my divorce and not before? I, 53 female, have been divorced from my ex-husband Larry, 54 male, for 6 years. Larry and I have 2 adult children, Steve, 27 male, and Carla, 25 female. Larry and I met in college when we were both electrical engineering students. We were both very much on the nerdy side and looked the part, but were very attracted to each other. So I thought anyway. We got married soon after we graduated and both worked as engineers. But after a few years, Larry decided he wanted to go to law school to become a patent lawyer. In order to look the lawyer apart, Larry underwent a major glow-up during this time, on pretty much all levels. Tailored clothes, fancy haircuts, designer accessories like watches, etc., along with working out to trade his dad bod for a lean gym bod. During this time, I was having/raising our small children, while taking care of about 95% of household matters because of his long working hours, all while working full-time. I admit I did not glow up along with Larry. My own appearance has always been on the plainer side. I'm not overweight, but a bit stocky, 5'5", 140 pounds. Simply cut hair, glasses, practical clothes, not much makeup. Larry loved me as his for about the first decade of our relationship. But after he started working as a lawyer, he started to become drawn to more conventionally attractive women and had several affairs. When I pressed for counseling, he said that the issues were things like my big nose and post-baby tummy pooch, not things I could fix with a simple makeover. I was getting organized to ask for a divorce when Carla was hit by a car while riding her bike. She survived and is fine now, but needed several years of intensive surgeries and rehab. In order to provide a unified front for Carla and Steve, Larry and I agreed to stay married and be as cordial as possible. He continued to see other women during this time, but by this time, I was past trying to get him to be faithful. We did separate and divorce after Carla went off to college. Larry's remarried now to a much younger woman, 33 female. In the past couple years, I've actually decided to focus more on myself, including my appearance. Now that my children are grown and out of the house, and I don't have to worry about tiptoeing around a difficult husband, I finally have time and resources to do so. I didn't get a nose job or other plastic surgery like Larry had wanted, but I did updates and color my hair, started working out more, lost about 15 pounds, got a new wardrobe, and actually started dating. I don't have a steady partner yet, but regularly go to age-appropriate singles events and go on dates. Unfortunately, my children detest the new me. In particular, they blame me for the divorce and are angry that I didn't glow up to accommodate Larry, saying I was too selfish and lazy to do so when it mattered. My son Steve is getting married soon and says he is too angry to invite me to the wedding. Carla's gone low contact with me. I had great relationships with both of them until I started my own glow-up process a couple years ago, which was a few years after Larry and I finalized our divorce. Steve and Carla have told me that the only way to fix this, the only thing that would be fair, is to go back to the way I was before, meaning stop coloring my hair, dress in my former plain/frumpy way, and stop dating. They say they're most upset about the dating, and that is not fair for me to be looking for a new partner. So am I the a-hole for everything I have done here, for not improving my appearance until after I got divorced? I really don't think Larry would have been faithful to me, no matter how much I twisted myself in knots. I've felt I did the best I could, given the energy and resources I had. And while it may seem selfish, I do believe I deserve to have my own life now. But I am open to other opinions if I have done something wrong here. Now for the comments. Not the a-hole at all. What the heck did I just read? Your kids sound like spoiled, entitled selfish people. So they blame you for the divorce even though their dad cheated? Focus on yourself and your own life, and go completely no contact with your children. You can love them from a distance. You spent years sacrificing your own happiness for theirs. It's finally your time to be happy. I don't want to go no contact with them, but I just think it's very odd that they only started blaming me for the divorce once I started improving my appearance. I do agree that I have a right to be happy now, whatever that looks like within reason, and that I don't have to defer to their opinion. Why do your kids think they have a say in what you wear? This is so strange. That's not normal and it's not okay. If you go back to the old you, does X go back too? What's the endgame here? Because X is married, surely the adult whiner's children know this? They think that I'm basically rubbing it in my ex's face, and theirs that I never cared about him because I couldn't be bothered to fix myself up until after we were divorced. I've explained that it just had to do with time and bandwidth that I have now, that I'm single and the kids are grown, but they aren't buying it. And no, of course the ex doesn't go back. The kids just think I deserve to be alone and frumpy. I guess because I wasn't a perfect wife in my marriage. I'm genuinely concerned for the lack of values your children exhibit. You sound like you still need to work on your self-worth. I cannot imagine sacrificing as much as you have for your children to turn around and treat you this way. If my child said what your son did to me, there would be zero chance I'd attend their wedding. You are entitled to feelings and to hurt, and the things your children are saying to you are cruel. The adult children sound very shallow. I can't imagine growing up in a house where mom carries all the domestic duties and dad is off having affairs was a great experience. They seem to have no issue with dad being married to a much younger person now, but have an issue with mom living for herself for once? Sounds like they're blaming mom for dad's affairs. Not a-hole, those kids should definitely get therapy.